It's how you adapt to challenge. I think builders in general, they're quite resilient. If I knew what I knew now back then, I'm very much a people pleaser. For me, it is just really ensuring that we are connecting with our clients to understand their vision. The big shit comes by little wins. Is the little wins give you confidence to take a bigger step next time? I think that's probably the biggest thing that continually sets my mindset is like, hey, it's achievable. And everything we've ever done has never been a failure. You're a salesman, you're a business owner, you're providing something to clients, you're working for others, you're everything. You're dealing with big dollars, just skim the bit off the top.
Welcome to today's episode where we are joined by Dale Spencer, founder of SOBAC, a luxury custom home builder specialising in stunning beachside and holiday homes along South Australia's beautiful Fleurieu Peninsula. In today's conversation, Dale takes us behind the scenes of an incredible ocean view project and shares some fascinating insights about the importance of early client engagement and team building, creating strong client relationships, and also insights about running a custom building business and creating enjoyable experiences for holiday home clients.
I moved here 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Started the business about 10 years ago down here, yeah.
But it must be nice to operate in a local town where people know each other, where seeing you wave to the guy come past.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's a pretty tight community down here, so yeah, everyone, it's great. Everyone recognises and looks out for each other, so it's a really good spot.
The clients that you build for out here, why do you think they love this area so much? Why is there...
The small towns we have down here are quite unique in their own character, and they all are very slow, relaxed, almost semi-step back, just so that people can leave Adelaide and come down here. And it has that, that ocean vibe. Yeah. Everything down here is built around the reason these towns are here is because of the ocean.
Okay.
But the good thing is our local council, Alexandrina, is very big on nurturing those uniquenesses between the towns.
Oh wow, that's special.
Which is great. So, but it's a place where clients can come, like people come on holidays. It's really a holiday place just to chill.
Yeah.
Enjoy the ocean and yeah.
After exploring what makes builders truly client-focused, Dale and JP hits the road. They're heading to a live construction site where early engagement and collaborative design are being put to the test on a very personal family project.
Like obviously with the builders that we talk to, we often hear, we're client-focused. But for you, when you talk about you guys being client-focused and you teach your team members, hey, we are client-focused, what does that mean to you guys?
I'm very much a people pleaser in ways, and so for me it is just really ensuring that we are connecting with our clients to understand their vision ultimately is, and just sort of centering back on that continually with our discussions and when we're looking at options and helping them determine whether it's good worth spending the money in some sections or not. Especially we had one recently where the client's there's something they really wanted, but every time it came back they'd consider it had just a bit too much cost implication, and Kylie was fantastic in just sitting them down and saying, guys, this is so important to you. In 6 months' time when you move in and you're living in the place, you're not going to regret the decision. If you don't spend that little bit extra, every time you walk past that spot, you'll regret that you didn't do it. And that's from understanding their vision.
Where does that start? At what stage are you understanding or getting involved in their vision?
From the first conversation. I guess it's just taking the time to stop and really listen to them. So create that connection, that friendly connection in terms of find a common interest that you can then build a conversation around that you can then use to extend and really get to know what is important to them. It comes from that place of, we use the word a lot, trust. It's not just a transactional thing, it's a friendship ultimately where you're providing them a service, and because they become friends, you really want to do the right thing by them and give them something. A lot of joy comes from giving. So if you can really understand what they want and give what they want, then that's probably the best bit.
You and I were talking on the phone the other day about a transition you've been putting in place over the last few months. At the end of a job, they're like, don't ever lose Kylie, she's amazing, we love interacting with her. And then you've come and gone, all right, well, how can I have that experience? How can I give a client that experience earlier on and get involved with their vision earlier on? And so her role is now changed a little bit. What does that change and why that change?
So we found that we don't want to spread ourselves too thinly. So we've been able to sort of restructure in a sense that Kylie can be more client focused. Mm-hmm. The things she was doing throughout the construction process, like sorting out PCs, helping with selections, those sort of things, we've been able to free her up from some of the admin side of that to bring her forward in the process to work with our clients earlier on. And again, that just feeds better information into the system for the guys. So it's really important for us that we can understand our clients, but then we can pass that information on, and that's where Kylie's really, really worth her weight in gold.
I can imagine from a client's perspective, especially if this is new to them or they haven't done it before, or there's so many unknowns or so many potential fears that they may have, having someone like that is just it goes back to the trusting.
Yeah.
Then they've got someone they know they can trust.
Yeah, like one of Kylie's biggest strengths, which works so well for our clients, is she's really knowledgeable, which is important. She's more than happy to pull people up if they're starting to, not so much clients, but say designers and stuff, if they're starting to move away from what the original vision is, she's happy to control that and does it in a very nice manner where it's not pandering. She doesn't allow things to be pandered to, but she's not too forthright either in the delivery. So
that's a fine line sometimes. So,
it is,
so
it
if she can
be.
walk that well, that's incredible.
And you've got to, in that role, you've got to play both sides of the coin.
Right.
You're between the client and the designer.
Mm-hmm. And you're working towards what they want and dreaming of, but you're also working with a budget. You got to respect that. You got to respect the design intent.
Yep.
And
if the designer's doing their job well, they're taking the client's vision and they're pushing it.
Yeah.
Now it's the understanding. This is where Kylie's worth her weight, because she understands how far they can push it before they've stepped outside.
Yep.
Which is important.
Wow.
And to be able to have that related back to a budget as well is a whole other process of thinking within it. So, yeah.
Because of that early engagement, or that because Kylie can get involved with the client and help the client so early on now in the piece, in some of those initial conversations, even when they just reach out to you guys, what does that look down at the other end of the journey?
If she's doing so much work up front with the clients, and they become great friends at that point, because they can really see that she's looking out for them to provide their vision and really support them. So then she can then nurture them through the rest of the build, keep them updated. If they've got questions, they can come to her, and Kylie can understand what Eddie's question back is and so forth, and really create that bridge between the flat-out workforce and the client. So by the end of the job, I think the clients get to see the realisation of what they worked on so long ago in that selection process, and any changes they made to layouts and structure and so forth. And I feel there's a real unity by the end of it.
Yeah.
That's probably the main thing, is everyone can come together, and our clients want our trades to come back, and because they know the amount of effort that goes into it, because they come along, they see it, they talk to the trades. And
yeah, and I know one thing that you and I have discussed a few times before, actually on a previous podcast, was this idea of you want every interaction with a client to be enjoyable.
From our point of view, it works two ways. So it's not only the client journey is so much better, which is so important to us, but allows us to feed the right information to site quicker. We want our trades to have a great experience as well.
Yeah.
So happy people on a building site produce good work.
To continue the conversation, Dale and JP arrives on site to show exactly what early engagement looks like in practice. Here's where client vision, architect collaboration, and builder expertise come together, managing complex technical details while honouring a family's legacy.
Tell me about this project. Have you guys given this one a name?
This is Eli, which is the client's surname.
Okay. Well, in Adelaide City, but also a lot down here. You worked on some amazing heritage projects. This one, though, was a shack that had to go to bring this amazing
This is a really
project.
special story, this one.
Okay.
So this was a family shack, and it was a bit sort of Spanish villa inspired in the sense that it had some arches at the front and it had like a stucco render around it.
Okay.
But it was had been added to a bit over time. It had been with the family for a long time, and it was always the mum's dream was to build a better version of the family holiday home down here. Now, unfortunately, when she passed away, so the brother and sister have gone together and they're building mum's dream.
That is special.
So it's the architect Murray really has taken the original building as a bit of inspiration. There's a lot of the original building that they wanted to keep with the arches and that feel.
A lot of that feel in it.
A lot of that feel. So he's taken that into the architecture of this building.
Amazing. And so this project, you work with Murray on a few projects.
We work with Murray regularly,
very closely with him. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what in that scenario? What obviously having worked on quite a few projects together, the relationship there no doubt works really well.
It does. Yeah, definitely.
For you and from your perspective, what about that relationship works well, and why do you enjoy it?
Similarly, like I've said with designers and clients before, is it's like designers really should be pushing the boundaries. Mm-hmm. So similarly with Murray, he needs to push the boundaries of our clients' visions. Now, if we're working with him at that stage, we can let him push the boundary. We can then assess that from our buildability point of view and say, hey, do you know what? That's great what you're doing there, but if you just refine that a tiny bit, that's going to save a lot of money for our clients. Yep. Now, we can have that discussion between Murray and I to go, now, is that moving away from your architectural intent? Mm-hmm. Or are we staying true to it?
That.
Yeah. We want to stay true to that. But, we're looking at a cost factor to a buildability, to a vision, to what you're presenting. Now, can we adjust these few things? And if you allow us to do it this way, if that doesn't destroy the integrity of what you're trying to do, that's going to be a lot more buildable and it's going to save a lot of money for the client. So we can work together to create that common goal of a beautiful architectural home that we can help structurally define how it's going to be done most cost-effective way.
I suppose it sounds as though once, again, having a great partnership and relationship to have open communication and discussions then defines the borders and go, cool, now the borders are defined.
Yep.
If we operate within here, we can create something really amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, and just the more you can collaborate in that space, the better the results will be. There'll be less on site on the construction end of just taking the drawings and running with it going, why has it been done that way? Now we've got to figure out how to make it work, because something that previously we could have gone, if we adjust this now, that'll save these issues down the track.
Yeah. And for a project like this, of this scale, do you find that your engineering background is useful?
I guess it is in the sense of reading plans and then determining what the outcome needs to be. Mm-hmm. So with this, the builders will understand this. With this job here, we've got 46 different edge details. So everywhere we go around, there's a slightly different rebate that was required in the slab or reinforcing in this section of a wall and so forth.
I mean, that's probably why you have Eddie on the team.
Yeah, we have Eddie there for that reason.
Because how does everyone on the team keep track of that?
So Eddie does basically when a job gets to contract, that's when Eddie takes over the construction side. So I feed him all the information of what we've been working on prior and the costing side, all that sort of stuff. And he then goes through and drills into the detail of everything. So we basically, when you get it from the engineers, it's pretty much, that needs to be this thick, that long there.
Yeah.
But then we've got to go through and determine all of our heights, where we're going to set up column rebates, set downs, all this sort of stuff, and detail it. And that's completely dependent on floor finishes and so forth as well. That's where his expertise comes in. He's really just drilling down to find out exactly where the detail is, how much we need to pass that on to the trades. So he somewhat runs the jobs on site through to framing stage.
Okay.
And that's when Byron, our site manager, takes over, when we start to get into roofing and services.
Okay. So what was some of the vision or the desire for the client on this project?
So we came in later than we otherwise normally would have. Well, what we would like to. So the design was very much done and being lodged for development approval. So we could help make some practical changes from our sense at that point that we could see, but really a lot of the work and all the structural had been done. So we kind of missed the boat there a little bit in some of the things that we potentially could have done to make it a little bit more buildable in some ways. But no, the architect and engineers had done a really good job. So there wasn't really anything that we would have changed in the structural sense really up front. But we were able to catch it early enough to do some things like, we've adjust truss designs and so forth so that we could accommodate recessed blind pelmets and a few of those things that kind of had been missed in the first case. But a lot of that comes through with what I was previously doing. What Eddie's doing now is really doing the technical review on all the documents and capturing it before it gets missed, which I feel is pretty normal. I feel all builders are doing that. If they're not, they probably should be spending a bit more attention up front because it saves you a lot of money later. But that's a pretty normal thing. So there's not too much variation in what we're doing there, but it is just the level at which you drill into it at that point, which is probably the variation of what sets some builders apart from others.
Yeah. In terms of the client's desires for this home, what was some key big things for them that they really wanted in this design and in this home?
Yeah, so the starting point was for it to be a bit of an ode to the original building. So it took some of those design features and extrapolated them and brought them into this. Then we also, the other side of what they're trying to achieve is it's a shared family holiday home. No, so it's been set up such that it's two families can be here. So there are some separate living spaces.
Oh, right, so the two families can live here simultaneously.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of, but not in a split level way either. Kind of, everyone's got sort of their own space, shared either end with a kitchen upstairs. And how often they'll all be here at the same time, maybe more just, Christmases and stuff like that. But it's definitely built and designed that it can be, you can find your space within it with both families here.
I know we've discussed it a bit before in terms of having the client vision and being able to then translate that to site and then for everything on site to go well and go smooth and all of that. You can't be swinging the hammer. You can't also be managing the job. You can't also be doing X, Y, Z, everything. So having the right team members is important. Talk me through that. How has that gone and why has been selecting the right team members so important?
The right team just helps everything run better and allows everyone to enjoy their job more, and we get a better result, the clients get a better result. Financially it turns out better. You haven't got delay costs, you haven't got as many mistakes. So in all, the right team really just helps the business run better and the product. So with hiring the right people, that, as I said, came with a bit of trial and error, but there were certain qualities I really liked about some people, but that didn't translate through to them doing their job well. So I guess the second time round, as I was looking to adjust how we were structured, I guess I looked at it in a slightly different lens. I guess I try to do a little bit more focusing on specifics, to have people fitting specific roles. So that's kind of where that came about.
What's it been like for you now to have this team?
Relaxing, I guess. It's like my situation is that I'm not here every day. I'm not in the office every day. I'm working from a remote office, basically. So I need that confidence to know that I don't have any worry about any of my staff stuffing up, not doing the right thing, not being invested. That is the biggest weight off my shoulders.
These people that are now in your team weren't the first people that came in.
No.
What was that like? Because I know there were several moments there where you were so excited to have this new person on, to be able to just shift some weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And they came in, and at first glance, it was like, this is going to be amazing. And then over time, you started to see gaps, and then you had to come in after, and they've stepped out, and you've had to come and save things, and then you're going to find the next person. How did you keep a positive mindset rather than going, stuff this, I can't find the right, the classic, the right person doesn't exist, How did you navigate through that?
So Kylie was an easy hire. She had all the skill set, she knew the role, and she was ready for a new challenge. So she was an easy hire, and that came at a time when we were going through a change with a site manager taking a role elsewhere. We worked for a few months, and then our current accounts lady at the time asked her to do a couple extra days a week just to help out because I was losing my mind doing everything. But she couldn't. And so, and I'm very thankful of her honesty, because she basically just said, look, Dale, you can't continue doing what you're doing, and you're just going to continue trying to help me, or look after me and work around me. And she goes, that's not going to work, so I'm going to leave too. Like, she forced me to take the step, and I'm so thankful that she did. I got a lot of respect for her for being honest and saying, no, you can't do it, and don't continue to work. So that's when I approached Kylie, and she was super keen. So then there was the two of us. So we grew, and we took on another site manager, and for me to do what I was doing to work a little bit remote, we took on a construction manager as well. Mm-hmm. Now, it's probably a little bit hasty in those hires. Our construction manager didn't work out, so we let him go very quickly, which meant that it all fell back onto my shoulders again, and I was doing that. Our site manager, absolute salt of the earth guy. Everyone loves him. He's an amazing guy, and we're sad to see him leave. He was great, but it just didn't work for him where I was taking the company and how I wanted to move it. So we were fortunate enough to get Eddie in, and Eddie basically went through and just sort of help square things up and all this, and then from there we were able to hire Byron. But getting back to what you're asking is it has been a real process, and you know what? I think I will still feel the effects of the hires I made 16 to 17 months ago. The first two we hired then, I'm still feeling the effects of that now, and probably will for another 6 months. So
that's true. That delayed gratification for positive
is the same
is
for
also
negatives.
For negative times. You have
to So say our construction manager at the time was doing some estimating as well, and he missed some stuff. This job particularly, we may not see the effect of that until November. So there's lessons learnt. I couldn't imagine being where we are now a few years ago.
Yeah, that's always, hindsight's always an exact science. You can always look back and be like, oh yeah, I can see the connections there, but looking forward isn't always that way. You can set your sights and go, let's work towards that. Yeah. But then being able to remain flexible and adapt is important.
Yeah, and positive.
What has helped you remain positive? Because you guys have, the challenges of running a business, challenges of families. How have you gone around navigating some of those things? It's
hard to articulate, I guess, because you're a person that either just does it or you don't. I guess I'm kind of lucky. I'm from a generation that don't whinge. Yeah, no. Unlike you, young pups. But I don't know. I guess it was kind of still. I was lucky enough to grow up in the '80s you got stuck in, and there's no point whinging because your parents are just going to tell you to toughen up.
You mentioned positivity and how important it is to remain positive because, like you said, there's a lot that's happened between then and now.
Yep.
How have you done that, and what have you found helpful in maintaining a positive outlook on the future always?
It's how you adapt to challenge. You know, you hear those cliche comments of, there's no problems, there's only challenges or whatever and all those sort of things. But I guess it's just ingrained in people, isn't it? And I think builders in general are pretty resistant people. They're quite resilient.
You would need to be.
Yeah, they're just, I think in general, people who are going to take this on because it's I don't know if I'd do it again. I absolutely love it, but as we talk in our group, like if I knew what I knew now back then, I might have done something different because you are everything. You're not just doing something. You're a salesman, you're a business owner, you're providing something to clients, you're working for you're everything.
Yeah, you're leading the team, you're
dealing with big dollars to skim the bit off the top.
Big dollars, big emotions.
Yeah. Big investments for people emotionally and financially, you're dealing with a lot.
One thing that I was keen to hear from you, because we as a team who work with you and your team have experienced it, I was asking them, what are some key things that stand out with what you think that Dale and his team do well? And also communication.
I don't know, it just comes down to, again, us wanting to really deliver on the vision of our client. So we communicate to make sure that we're doing that. Really, that's all it is it's not that we're never doubting ourselves. Like, we could go and make decisions and go through and just build the whole thing without asking them a single question. And I'm sure they'd be ecstatic at the end. Yeah. But is that truly giving them what they want? So we just find it's just crucial to always be in contact and just refreshing that conversation to find out, hey, we have an option to do something here. This is the plus and minus. Yeah. This is the associated dollars or whatever. But just keeping them in the loop, keeping them up to date with how site's progressing.
For other builders out there, what does your communication look like? If they could take some stuff away, like how often are you communicating and through what means or methods? Calling, emailing, texting, do you have software that you use? What does that look like?
So we do use the software with a client portal. We're integrating that. We've actually just changed over our software. So that's probably one of the last stages we'll bring into using that new software. Kylie's probably on the phone to our clients fortnightly at most. So she'd be weekly on the phone to our clients. Yeah. So if they have any questions, it's answered then and there. It's not so much to give update on the job, but still just to finalise details and talk through things need to flow. I mean, say things like with furnishings. We had a meeting yesterday we're not fitting or supplying the furnishings, the blinds, but Kylie and Eddie are out here with the client and the blinds company to really determine that, hey, we've got the right recessed pelmet boxes, we've got so forth. So we're just constantly communicating, even if we don't actually ultimately have involvement in it. We want the experience to really run well for the client, so we help them beyond what's of our scope.
But I like that as well in terms of just increased responsibility that no one is saying that you have to take it on, but you've chosen to take it on for the benefit of the client so that their journey and outcome is so much better. Yeah,
similarly like landscaping. Landscaping is not in our contract, but it is a landscaping company we work with a lot. It's my friend's company, and we will bring them in early so that we can work together so that we can basically hand over a finished job for the client. I know a lot of others would go, no, there's no way, no one's coming onto the job site, because it does create, you've got to work around it. It does create a bit of hassle. It does make life harder. But ultimately, we're just seeing it like if we don't let them come in earlier, they're going to have trays at their site for another 6 months. Yeah. Like the extent of landscaping here is pretty considerable. So it's kind of, we'll let them come in earlier Sure, they'll still have work to do after we're gone, but so they've actually already come through with retaining walls and stuff in some areas. So stuff they could have done later, but we're like, no, guys, you've got an opportunity before the scaffold went up. Come and do it now, and that saves you a month later.
Let's walk further. I want to see the view that we keep talking about. That view is unbelievable.
It is, isn't it? So
and the fact that you've got walled windows there.
Yeah.
And that side as well?
And that side too. Yeah, returning back to there. So
if you're on the balcony or inside, you're going to be able to see.
Yeah.
The clients that you work with, who are building these outstanding holiday homes, they come in Adelaide for a getaway.
They are.
To leave the city for a bit, weekend, long weekend, a week, whatever that may be. And they want to come. And that's, I know you and I have discussed that in the past. It's so important that the whole build journey is enjoyable, because that's going to be attached to when they come and live in this home or holiday in this home. They want to have enjoyable memories.
Yeah. I can imagine. I don't want to walk into my bedroom and go into my wardrobe, like my walk-in robe, and have a bad memory about
how much
why it didn't turn out the way I wanted or anything like that, you know? You want to walk in and have good memories of why something was done and how it worked, and
From concrete and steel back to strategy and systems, Dale and JP head to the office to reveal the business frameworks behind quality construction, hiring for character, scaling operations, and the mindset shifts that transformed SOBAC as a building company.
Epic that. Well, it's been awesome to spend some time with you out on site. But a big shift that you and I have been chatting about, and our team have been learning, obviously we're helping you communicate that as well, is getting you involved earlier. This idea of early engagement. I mean, a big part of your brand is also the consulting side of things.
Yeah,
really
definitely.
Now pushing that. But in all the chats, yes, you've always wanted to be more involved in terms of consulting, because there's a lot of value you guys can bring there, but it wasn't something that you necessarily had the capacity to
completely
provide. Why not back when things started, and why now can you, and how are you providing it?
There's a lot of factors as to why we didn't and why we can now, but primarily it was, as you touched on, it was having the time to be able to prioritize that beyond. So there was a long time there where I was doing everything, and then everything to do with bringing in work, and basically all I was getting assistance with was admin and payments. When Kylie came along, obviously that allowed us to, she would take over more of the actual construction admin and purchasing and that sort of stuff, which was fantastic. That freed me up, and I was still running job sites, winning work. Right. As much as I wanted to, I still couldn't get involved in jobs early enough because I didn't have the space to bring it in. So it's something I've always wanted to do, and we always planned on doing, but it wasn't until we could actually scale our staff and restructure the way we have now that we could allow the space for someone to have a lot more focus on that up front. Now, there's two huge positives out of it. One is the quality of the job that the client gets, because we have more space earlier on to understand their vision and help them to provide that, as I've already touched on, with being that spot between the client with the vision and the architect who wants to push that vision as far as they can to be the person.
I like you said there, that's very much an important role of the architect, is to push that, because the client's not necessarily fully clear on what they want.
No, that's right.
The architect's there to understand, interpret, and push it a little bit.
Yeah, and really, and people always will sit inside their comfort zone with saying what they want. Not often will they go to the extremity of what they feel safe with, and that's definitely a part of the role of an architect, is to turn that into something unique. But sometimes they can stretch that beyond what is buildable. Not what is buildable, but what is working towards what budget the client is at. And so if we can sit in the middle and really help that to sort of, as we touched on before, making those minor changes which do have quite a cost impact but aren't stepping away from the architect's vision beyond the client's. So the client, ultimately, if we can have earlier involvement, there's a huge positive for the client that they can have something closer to their budget or within their budget, still pushing their expectations.
Yeah.
But then the other advantage of the client is it means that if we've got enough involvement earlier on, a lot of these things that we can capture then aren't going to be prevalent in the construction. So that's just going to reduce the construction speed, so we can deliver the product earlier.
Okay. And what was again, like that's so important, they're working with the architect to respect the design intent and the client's vision, what they're trying to, what were they trying to accomplish that you were able to identify and find another solution for?
Well, basically it was us interpreting the drawings and looking at the cost associated with what has been applied by the engineer, and then talking to the engineer and saying, hey, if we were to make, can I adjust it to be in this particular situation? Can you do away with that, and that? And they're like, yes, not a problem. Yeah. So then I go to Murray and say, hey, Murray, can we make this change? Is that still true to your architectural intent? Yes, it is. Fine. Okay, perfect. We've just saved $40,000 for the client. We've increased the speed of the build, and we've found it now. Like that's not really a good example of what would happen if we didn't find it, because otherwise we would just build through. That's just one of many, but there's others where like we may find that, okay, look, it's been designed in a certain way, but hang on, we can't create that cantilever, this. We'll go back and we'll make the change now with the engineer and the architect. That may have been completely missed otherwise, gone out to site, into production, and then suddenly it's like, oh, we can no longer run the services through there that we needed to run through there. Because we're looking at it from a buildability point of view, where we've got suspended on the floors around air conditioning, this and stuff. I know that they're all aware of it, but they're generally not there for the practicality on site to see what actually can be done. So the earlier our involvement is for the client means that it's a more buildable building, but we definitely stay true to the architect's intent.
Just to be clear, for the guys that maybe are hesitating, run me through, just list out some of the clear value adds for you, for the client, for the architect at the end of the job.
Yeah, so basically if you can do the collaborative thing at the start, the job will run smoother, faster, more economical. Basically you're going to be able to provide the job. So there's going to be less variations for the clients if you're on a fixed price, or it's not going to be a cost blowout if it's cost plus. You're going to go into it with a clearer scope of the actual job, so you can schedule it better, organise it better. You're not going to have those unforeseens that pop up and stop work for a week where you're trying to resolve a problem. So definitely, in that sense, it's a better all-round situation for everyone. Whether you're going to ECI at a cost to the client or not, the other advantage we see is that it really creates a relationship with the client that by the time you're getting to contract stage, if you've done your early involvement well, they have got no reason to go anywhere else.
The trust is established.
Exactly.
I feel like maybe it's just because clients are not educated on that something like this exists, but I feel like once they are aware of it, it makes way more sense. Why would I not want to assemble my team earlier?
Yeah.
Because if I can assemble my team earlier, then everyone can get on board earlier, there's been more across things earlier.
It's quite interesting. We find through our inquiries, you get a huge mix. There's those that have the perception that I'm going to ring up the builder and say, okay, I want a house. What do we do? Yes. They have no idea that how to. The planning stages are all involved to get to the point that you can just start building a house. They don't even know any of it. Then you've got the others that are like, okay, I need to get a design so that I can find the right builder. So they go through the full design process, get development approval, and no one's put a cost to the job. So but then I kind of feel that a lot of that is also somewhat driven by the volume market, where it's kind of like, here's a plan and there's the cost. Yeah. And people are kind of paring back what they say on those to go, well, I want to build this house, so surely it's going to cost very similar to that. But they have no idea, and they have no idea what's even included in that listed price anyway. But it's tricky in that sense. But if we can get in early and create a design team and work with that design team, the results are just better in pretty much every single way.
It's we've talked earlier, or many times today, last night, previously. The mindset is a big part of things.
Yeah,
and the difference with Dale today versus Dale when you started SOBAC. Huge difference there, and you've been many evolutions. What has been the biggest shift in mindset that you've had that has had the biggest positive impact and reward on the business?
I think the biggest shift comes by little wins.
Okay.
That's what I feel is the little wins give you confidence to take a bigger step next time. And then you succeed there and you're like, well, hang on, I did that pretty... And I think that's probably been the biggest thing that continually sets my mindset is like, hey, it's achievable. Like, and everything we've ever done has never been a failure. So extend that boundary further and have a bigger go this time. And there's certain things we're doing at the moment that are extending me a long way. And that's great. And they'll come through.
Yeah.
And it's kind of... And I think that's common across the board is, life begins outside your comfort zone. We keep saying it. And you realise the life or the things you could be achieving and doing had you tried earlier. So get stuck in.
So just keep pushing that comfort zone just a little bit.
Just a bit.
You grow.
Until you become more comfortable with how far you can push your comfort zone. And you find you end up making monumental leaps.
Yeah. Especially when you look back and you think, well, where I am now is so different.
It is, and it's exponential too. So I can just see like the rate at which I was testing myself early on compared to over the last couple of years particularly have been taking on big challenges and are succeeding.
Amazing. Dale, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you,
Hang out with you. Walk us through your projects.
Yeah, no, absolute pleasure.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thanks for making the trip down.
Pleasure.
Cheers, guys.